like the freedoms that are,
Okay.
the freedoms that are for citizens.
Exactly. Yeah. Any other? Okay, so that's what they are, and they're basic or individual rights that we have. And the thing, like freedom of speech or freedom of religion, and the big differentiating factor between civil liberties and civil rights, which we'll go over, is this idea that civil liberties, we have civil liberties in order to protect us from the abuses of the government. That's why they're here, so that the government cannot come and overstep and abuse our rights, our civil liberties. Then we have this idea of civil rights. Can anyone postulate what they think, or tell me what they think civil rights would be, if we know what civil liberties are? Yeah? Okay, great. So they're equal rights under the law, or equal treatment. So that's exactly it. And the difference between equal rights, and I have the definitions up here if you want to look up at the board, the difference between equal rights and civil rights and civil liberties is the fact that civil rights are guaranteed by the Constitution. They're not enacted to protect from government abuse. Everyone has civil rights because it's such as like the right to vote if you're of age, or the right to have a trial by jury. So that's kind of the main difference between civil rights and civil liberties. And these are issues that we're going to focus on the most throughout this unit on the Bill of Rights, more than anything else. So what about libel and slander? What are those words? Has anyone ever heard the terms? Yeah.
Slander has something to do with talking about.
Yeah, that's very close.
Libel is publishing false information with the intent to cause harm.
If you didn't read it, that was the most amazing thing I've ever seen, because that is literally the exact definition.
That's because I read the exact definition.
I thought you were like a genius, but anyway, good job. So, what about so that's libel. What about slander? Yep.
Slander is like when you publish something like that's putting down somebody else for like your own good.
Okay, that's close. That's more libel. Can anyone guess what the small difference is? Yeah?
Slander might just be like, you just made it up, it might not be true, or near the truth.
It's oral.
Okay, so that's the main difference that we're trying to get at. So libel and slander, libel is publishing false information with the intent to harm someone, and slander is orally spreading false information with the intent to harm. And what separates libel and slander from other just like bullying or mean talk, it's like the intent to publicly like cause harm. So that's when you talk a lot about like celebrities suing magazines for publishing like really mean, hurtful things about them. And you'll see like lawsuits where they'll sue over what they'll call libel. Yeah?
So that applies to like Facebook if someone said something bad about
I think that was part of, if we watched that movie, remember it brought up the smartphone, it was like, can the government track your... So I think they're not, the law takes time and it's hard to keep up with the technologies. So I think they're now just trying to like figure out how is Facebook publishing, like it's out there, but is that like the same as when we originally thought about this, people thought publishing like publishing a book, publishing a newspaper. So I think they're trying to work on that. Yeah?
You can't accuse someone of slander unless something like actually bad happens to you, like a competitor or someone else.
Exactly. So maybe like this is a obviously really negative situation, but if someone committed suicide after a magazine published really mean, horrible things about them, that would be cause to sue, because it obviously caused a very negative thing to happen, and they'd argue whether or not the suicide was because of what was said or because of other factors, and that's what would happen in court. Okay, so what about self-incrimination and double jeopardy? These are terms you may have heard, yeah?
Like you said, self-incrimination, if you say something that will put yourself in jail. And the double jeopardy is once you are tried for a crime and you don't get convicted, they can't try you again for the same crime.
That's it. That's exactly it. So you can't be compelled to testify against yourself. You have the right to not implicate yourself. And then double jeopardy, yeah. So the same exact crime you cannot be committed of. So say you were convicted and let off. You go to court and you're let off. They can't convict you of the exact same crime again and take you to court again and try you.
Wait, so that needs to be due by
But what if we really did it? But
Doesn't matter. So here's an example. So let's say I'm convicted of murdering someone, and I go to court, and the jury decides she's innocent. If the police get new evidence that I killed that person, they cannot try me for the murder of that person.
so that means you can kill another person?
No, because the crime. No, that's a good question because the crime it has to be the exact same. If I then murder someone else, that's a whole another ballpark. Like then they can try me for that murder, but they can't bring up the previous murder that I was in court over. You know, because it wasn't proven. Like that would be slander. You know, you're saying like, oh, she is this path. Wow, yeah.
What about a mistrial?
Well, then they get to go again.
Okay, so a mistrial is when the jury can't come to a conclusion and then they try you again.
Right, because they don't come to so the double jeopardy can't apply because they don't come to any sort of a conclusion. They deem it a mistrial because things like it goes wrong and the jury can't reach a verdict. Or they'll do a mistrial if something, let's say like someone repeatedly brings up, mistrial. You can turn it off for a bit.
Okay.
So you